Hey Algebra 1 students, this is lesson 9.5, day 2. So in this one we are actually using the full quadratic formula to find solutions to a quadratic equation. Okay, now remember, the solutions, I'm just going to put a quick sketch here to remind you what we are finding. So we've been looking at parabolas a lot. We talked about these three important points. These are the zeros or x-intercepts or solutions. So they are where our parabola intersects the x-axis. So that's what we're finding. This right here was the vertex. That's not what we're finding. We're finding our zeros, our x-intercepts, our solutions. So let's take a look at this. The one thing I would like you to do is I like to say, put this b squared minus 4ac in a cloud, because that is a really messy piece of this equation. So I'm going to have you find that first, and then we're going to put everything into this big equation. So you can see this equation has b, a, c, b, a. So our first step will always be find our a, b, and c, because once we have our a, b, and c, we can kind of forget about this equation. We're kind of leaving the variables behind and just concentrating on these numbers. We're going to substitute our value of b and a and c in here to find those zeros. So quadratic equation is right here. It's set equal to 0, which is very important that it's equal 0. And that is, so I'm going to say, yep, it's equal to 0, because I'm finding those zeros. I'm finding the input when the output or the y value is 0. My a is 3, my b is -2, and my c is -5. Okay, on the first part of this lesson, we did that activity where we wrote b squared minus 4ac all in parentheses. I would like you to do that again. Remember, this is the discriminant. I like to find the discriminant first and then plug it into this big equation. And we practiced this on day 1 of 9.5, so we should be good at this. So b is -2. So we have -2 squared. Remember, it's very important that you wrap everything up in parentheses. -4 is a copy job. A is 3, so substitute in 3 for the value of A, and substitute in -5 for the value of C. Hopefully you're an expert at putting this in your calculator. I will do it with you again for this problem. So we have parenthesis -2. Okay, make sure you're using this negative button, 2, and then don't forget to square it. -4, parenthesis 3, close your parenthesis, parenthesis -5, parenthesis. This one has a lot of negatives. Make sure you're using your parentheses. I know I say that a lot, but it's really, really important. And we get 64. Okay, that is everything that will go in the jail. Okay, so now let's write this equation. X equals negative, I want you to wrap up that b. I'm just copying this right now. Plus or minus. Put your jail, but now this whole big kind of messy thing, we already found that. That is 64. So let's just put that 64 under there. This already looks neater and easier to work with than this big long thing. And then on the bottom we have 2, and I want you to wrap up that A. Now we need to keep going. We want to substitute a -2 in here for B and a 3 for A. So this is a fraction. Remember, start with a fraction, end with a fraction. Keep your fraction going. Copy your negative, your parenthesis, and what is the value of B? -2. Again, the parenthesis here is very important because we have 2 negatives here, so really important we use our parentheses. Copy your plus or minus, so remember that's where our 2 answers come from. And then I'll put my square root of 64. Some of you might be thinking right now, oh, square root of 64, that's a perfect square, that's 8. And you could put 8 there right now. I'm going to do all my simplifying in the next step. In my denominator, I have 2 parenthesis a. Throw out the a, put a 3 in there. Okay, this is good stuff, but we got to keep going until we have 2 solutions for x. X equals x equals. We should be getting 2 x values for this, or maybe 1. For sure on this one we're going to get 2 because our discriminant is positive. Okay? All right, let's keep going with this. -1 times -2, or if you're using your calculator, negative parenthesis, -2 parenthesis is a positive 2. So this is 2 plus or minus. Hopefully you already realized that the square root of 64 is 8. If you didn't, put it in your calculator and you get an 8. All over 2 times 3 is 6. Okay, that looks nice, but it doesn't look like 2 solutions. Remember, we're finding these 2 x values, or maybe 1, but we know we're going to get 2 because our discriminant is positive. Now what I would like you to do is draw the 2 arrows, similar to what we did when we were solving with square roots. And we're going to get 2 solutions. One of them will be when we do 2 plus 8 divided by 6. And the other one will be 2 minus 8 divided by 6. So let's write the 2 equations. Both cases we're finding x. X equals 2 plus 8. So the first one is when we use that plus. Don't forget your bottom. Don't forget your denominator. Divided by 6. And the other equation will be when we use the minus. 2 minus 8 divided by 6. I feel like I'm going to run out of room here, but I'll do my best. Okay, so x equals 2 plus 8 is 10 divided by 6. Okay, you have a couple choices. You could simplify that fraction by using your ABC button. 10 ABC, 6, and that simplifies to 1 2/3. I don't like those mixed fractions, so I'm going to turn this into an improper fraction. Remember, you can use your ABC button again. Oops, let me slide this up. Do second ABC, and that's the same as 5/3, which makes sense because 2 goes into 10 5 times, and 2 goes into 3 3 times. So x equals 5/3 is one of our answers. Some of you might like to use a decimal, which would be 1.66. That's also fine. And then the other one is x equals 2 minus 8, which is -6/6. That one I can do in my head. That's -1. So my other answer is x equals -1. So 2 solutions because our discriminant was positive, and they are x equals 5/3 and x equals -1. Now that is a lot. I want you to make sure that you pause the video and get all this in your notes. Very neat, so you have an excellent example to work from. I'm going to go on, because you can always rewind or pause the video. Now this says a we do, so we're going to start it out. Kind of have a nice little template here to fill all our values in. And then you always have this to refer to up there. But our first step is always going to be find your A, B, and C, because that's what we need, A, B, and C. So, are we equal to 0? Yes. We need to be equal to 0 if we're finding the zeros. A equals 1, B equals 3, C equals -4. Okay, now let's plug in. If you look up at the top, what goes in front of here is -b. Or another way to think about this is the opposite of b. Because if you multiply something by -1, it switches signs. I like to say it gives it an attitude adjustment. So you can think -b or the opposite of b. I'm going to stick with writing the negative, putting my parenthesis, and putting my value of b in there. Opposite of b or -b. Okay, so Negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared. B is 3, so my 3 is going to go in there. Minus 4 times a, which is 1, times c, which is negative 4. So this one we sort of gave you a setup to get you started. But remember, if you don't have that, I recommend you find your discriminant first. I call that the cloud, and put that under your square root. But this one's all got this nice template, so let's keep using this. This is super nice. Negative of 3 is negative 3. Put all that in your calculator, and that part I would like you to do by yourself. Punch that in your calculator, and you should get a 25. Positive discriminant means I'm going to have 2 solutions. All over, oh, I forgot my denominator. 2a, my gosh, shame on me. There we go. A is equal to 1. So 2 times 1 is 2, so my denominator is 2. Okay, let's keep going. Negative 3 plus or minus, remember that gets us our 2 solutions. Square root of 25, that is 5. That's a perfect square. Or perhaps you put it in your calculator. All over 2. This is the step where we separate this into 2 equations. The first equation will be negative 3 plus 5 all over 2. So this will be negative 3 plus 5 all over 2. And this one will be negative 3 minus 5 all over 2. And then look at that. They even gave us the answer. Let's check it though. Let's do negative 3 plus 5. Hit enter. Then do divide by 2. Oh, I get a 1. What do you know? Let's try this one. Clear. Negative 3 minus 5. Hit enter. And then divide by 2. Negative 4. Okay, so those are your solutions. We sort of have another we do here. So let's at least start this one, but I think I'm not going to finish this one. I'm going to give you the answer so you can check it. But this one right away has something you have not seen before. Now I wanted to remind you, we're finding the zeros. We're finding the spot where our parabola intersects the x-axis. The y value, you can't see that. There we go, sorry. The y value is 0 on both of these coordinate points. So I need my equation to be equal to 0. So put in your notes here, must be equal 0, exclamation point. So we need to take this equation and get a 0 over here. So think about, how would you get a 0? How would you hop this 30 over the equal sign? Well, you would minus 30 from both sides. Now I have a 0. That's what I want, equals 0. Now over here, none of these are like terms. So you're just going to write it out, negative x squared minus 10x minus 30. Okay, so if your quadratic equation is not equal to 0, that needs to be your first step. Then write your a, b, and c. A is negative 1, b is negative 10, c is negative 30. Okay, what I would like you to do now is to find your discriminant. So again, b squared minus 4ac. Okay, so I would like you to substitute in the values there and find your discriminant. Hopefully you have done that, or perhaps you pause the video to do that. Ta-da! Here's a little magic for you. This is what you should have put in your calculator, and you should have gotten negative 20. Now I want you to think for a moment. Your discriminant is negative. If you think back to 9-5 day 1, we said something special about a negative discriminant. So perhaps you already know the answer to this right now. But if you don't, I would like you to continue solving this problem. I would like you to put it in the quadratic formula. So on my paper, I'm just going to write negative 20 here. Now here's our quadratic formula. X equals negative b, or opposite of b, plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac, we already have that, all over 2a. So let's plug in our b. Negative b would be negative of negative 10, plus or minus the square root of negative 20, all over 2 times a. Our a is negative 1. Okay, let's keep going. Negative times negative 10 is a positive. Two negatives make a positive. Plus or minus, okay, let's put this negative 20 in our calculator. Second square root negative 20. I got an error. I'm going to check that. Second, okay, I got a square root negative 20. I have an error. All right, now I am going to remind you of something that we learned in the beginning of 9.5. This said, if the discriminant is negative, we have no solutions. So maybe you forgot that. If you remembered it, as soon as you got a negative discriminant here, you would have written down here, solutions are none. If you forgot it, you might have gotten to this step like we got here, and you may have gotten an error, or more specifically, a domain error on your calculator. That means no solution. You cannot do the square root, power of 2, on a negative number. So that means when you get that domain error, you have a negative discriminant, which means no solution. So that one was a little tricky, so we ended up going through that one together. The last one is a you-do, so I want you to do this one all by yourself. I'm just going to give you a little hint by circling that equals 24 there. Okay, that's it for 9.5. Thank you very much.